And do you know how fast the cheetah can run? A guess. Can I have a guess this morning? How fast is a cheetah? 90 kilometers per hour. 110. Let's make the Swedish way in between. So it's 100. But how fast can it go 100 kilometers an hour? In 3 seconds. It's quite fast. Not like an elephant. We're not going to talk too much about animals, but the symbolic of this as entrepreneurs and large companies, how they, as different kind of organizations and way of working, can collaborate together, and the challenges and key factors of this. And someone who really knows about this topic is someone who has done this for years. So Katarina Brud is our speaker and morning booster today. So warmly welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you here this morning. And I wanted to start with this quote by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. And this characterizes the start of MobilityXlab when we started over 5 years ago, because doing that, creating a new platform where startups and corporates could interact to create new innovations and solutions for future mobility within the automotive and transportation industry here in Sweden, I heard so many people say, we tried this before, it's not going to work, you have no experience within the automotive industry, so why would this succeed? There's no need of trying. And I think that mindset there and then was that either you can give up and say, we're not doing this, it's not going to work anyways, and listen to all these people, or you say, I'm going to die trying. And that's the story. And I will share more about MobilityXlab, what we're doing, and some of the factors of success and the challenges of working with startups and corporate collaboration. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and how I ended up where I am today. I'm Katarina Brud, and I grew up on an island, Orust, on the west coast of Sweden, where the days were filled with horseback riding, playing out in the woods, and also sailing school and playing by the ocean. That's pretty much what we did. I think what characterizes me is I'm a curious person, stubborn, and also was very curious about the world around. So when I was about 8-9 years, I watched TV, and I saw Nelson Mandela on TV, and this fascinated me a lot about his story and what he did and standing up for what's right. So at a very young age, I decided, very goal-oriented, one day I'll go to South Africa. Another person that influenced me was that, I guess it was the second time I watched TV, I saw Jerry Lee Lewis playing the piano. It was a documentary, and I was so fascinated, so I ran up to my parents and said, I want to start playing the piano, and we didn't even have a piano at home. But supportive as my parents were, they decided that, sure, we will buy you a keyboard, and then I started playing, which led me to go to music school, both in elementary school and then further on high school. After that, I wanted to go to South Africa when I was about 15 in high school for an exchange year, but I thought it was fairly, dangerous place to go at a young age, so I ended up an exchange year in Oregon at Sprague High School with the wonderful host parents, Dennis and Jane, that I'm closely connected to still today. After that, being that curious and having that perspective, the world is really, really small. I started studying Jönköping International Business School because that was the school that had the most international exchange possibilities with other universities around the world. And I did have a goal. I wanted to go to South Africa. So I did that as well and studied an exchange semester there. Further on after that, I also got the opportunity through the school to be an intern at the Embassy of Sweden in Washington, D.C., because this international perspective had me also think that maybe it's a diplomat that I want to become. And I had a wonderful time at the embassy in Washington, but I also realized the difficult task and the challenges of being a diplomat, moving around, and Washington, D.C. is probably the last place and the place where everyone wants to come, and that's not where you would start out. But it was a wonderful year, but I also got the perspective that that was not the career route I would take. Doing that, I ended up in the Swedish American Chamber of Commerce in Mississippi as I interacted with people in Washington, D.C. and getting to know them. But I also was very curious about innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think because I have a family working in that field, I heard about Venture Cup. Back then it was this business plan competition by McKinsey, and I had my goal. I want to work there, which I also did. So I did that for a couple of years. I got to know the ecosystem here in West Sweden and Sweden, supporting and coaching entrepreneurs and getting that perspective. And very much the spirit of can-do and how people that really believe in their ideas and their businesses, it was extremely inspiring. What I did miss was this international perspective, because it was a very, very kind of small world that we existed in, and this led me to go and work in London for Hult International Business School, where I worked with corporate relations and also engaged with a social entrepreneurship competition called the Hult Prize, where you see Bill Clinton was engaged in, and the winners get $1 million to make a social world challenge live, so to say. So extremely inspiring, and different reasons made me move back to Gothenburg, but I wanted to keep this international touch, still working in this area, which made me end up at Maersk, working with marketing strategy for Scandinavia, and then you work with the whole world, because everything we trade is usually being shipped. So I did that for 5 years, and it was a great experience learning about a very conservative, traditional company in a change of doing things in a new way, working with digitalization. But I was missing one piece, and it was this can-do attitude I talked to, because it was a lot of can't do. We've never done that before, so we can't do this again. And people were very, close-minded, which I wanted to work in another field, and I kind of missed that startup perspective, and that everything is pioneering the impossible. We can do this. So that led me to where I am today, because I started to talk to my network that I want to work with entrepreneurs again. And then I heard about this thing that they want to establish in Gothenburg. They wanted someone who'd worked with large corporates and startups, and they wanted to create a platform where these two could interact. And this is kind of the background to where I ended up at MobilityXlab. What is that today? No experience from the automotive industry, but I think my background from supporting entrepreneurs and also working for large corporates, I do understand these two different worlds, because they are quite different, and how you could bring them together and the need of putting them together. So today I do that. I also study an executive MBA at Gothenburg University the last couple of months, and I have one of my classmates here. Great to see you. I'm also part of Rotary International, the Gothenburg International Club here, and I also have one of my fellows here in the audience. Great to see you too. But the most important people in my life is my two little minis you see on the screen as well. So pretty occupied. And I think this gives you a background. I'm not a specialist in anything, but I do have, I think, a skill of looking at holistic, what needs to be done, and also taking action of doing things and creating a change to shape a new future. And last week I listened to Leif Johansson, and he said something great that I want to copy-paste. He said also that he's not a specialist, but together with others, he gets superpowers, and I really, really feel and connected with that as well. So, about 5 years ago, MobilityXlab was founded, October 2017. And back then, it was the industry wanting to stay competitive. And they said that by what we need and what's missing here is we have all these large companies, but we need to do things in a new way, work faster, and work in closer collaboration with each other. So they pretty much decided that they would launch MobilityXlab and create this platform where they could work closer together and also connect with startups and scale-ups from around the world. And today, we have a vision of pioneering future mobility, and our mission is to accelerate global innovation based on Swedish collaboration culture. And as you see here, we have 7 corporate partners, The Volvos has the same logo, so they're counted twice. And we're hosted by Lindholmen Science Park, which makes us a not-for-profit organization, even though we're backed by the industry. And my first day of the job, I got really, really exciting learning about bringing the corporate world, that they saw a need of getting connected to startups, because I saw that there was a huge gap in the market, or that's what I perceived. And of course, my first or second day at the job, I did call startups and said, we want to create this platform in Gothenburg, and we want to connect you with these corporate partners within the automotive and transportation industry, and are you interested in that? Would that sound interesting to you? And they said, yes. It's almost impossible for us to get connected to them. We don't know who to talk to. Even if we know where they're located, should we travel to the headquarters? How would we, when we go to reception, who do we know to call on? And even if you meet and talk to someone, that person might change job in one of the 50 million reorganizations that these large organizations do all the time. And then that train of thought is lost, and we don't know how to excel with our kind of validation and innovation that we would like to talk about. So already there I felt, okay, we're on to something, kind of validating the idea that this will work. On the other side, I turned to the corporate partners, because back then it was only me, and I had a team with the corporate partners, the founders, and we were supposed to build and establish this together. And I looked them deep in the eye and say, yeah, okay, talk to me, let me know, how do you work with startups today? And they said, we don't. And back then I got a bit frustrated, because I thought, okay, I thought they had everything, I thought they had the plan, they knew exactly what we're doing, how they're engaging, and was this what I signed up for? Because we didn't really know how to do this. But the second line of thought was, okay, here we have the opportunity to create something new, and actually something that people are requesting and asking for, where there's a demand in the market. So that's the kind of early days of MobilityXlab, and we're located, as you know, Lindholmen, Gothenburg, in West Sweden. And also what I noticed back in the early days, and this is still true today, going out to different international events, showing them that we are here in a very dense cluster of the automotive industry, and you can connect, by connecting to MobilityXlab, you can connect to these 7 partners in one hotspot. And you know, we know, hopefully you know where Lindholmen is. Some people in Gothenburg don't realize all the activity going on there, but there's so much, so you should definitely take the ferry over. But people, the international crowd, at times don't even know where Gothenburg is. They might have heard of Stockholm. And when they saw this picture, they were like, oh, is this for real? Are you kidding me? Are they working together? Can I interact and meet with them at once? And that's a huge offer that we have, that we coordinate and we facilitate the connections with the partners of MobilityXlab. And also an aspect of working with startups and scale-ups around the world, we identify the needs of the partners, but for them to be accepted, at least 2 of our corporate partners needs to have an interest in collaborating. And we do this because we want to create something different than the one-to-one relations that corporates and startups create. And we also want to create more benefits for the startups joining us, so they are validated the more than one of these corporations are interested in collaborating with them. And here is one of our friends, Roger from Israel, working for Aurora Labs, which is a self-healing software. Sounds pretty cool. And he explained this when he was present at one of our tech days. We had over 20 startups joining us in-house, and also about 500 corporate employees from our partners visiting and connecting with those startups. And he puts this perfectly. So what is it that MobilityXlab does? I think if we look at the corporate kind of partnership, it's like you buy a membership to the gym. You're not going to get fit just because you join the gym, right? Some people, they like to try to believe that, and I think that's a lot of sales and marketing in that, but it's actually hard work. It's actually you probably heard no pain, no gain. And I say that what we do at MobilityXlab is people has bought this membership to the gym. Now they have to do the work, but we at MobilityXlab and the team we are the personal trainers. We will make sure, we'll ask you to show up. We'll tell you what you need to do to excel and accelerate, but you have to do the work themselves. And I usually say that input gives output here. Mainly, perhaps, I mean the corporates, the big elephants we're talking about, not that quick always, but they're very, very strong. So we try to challenge them and make sure that they show up, they lift the weights, because also when we started, I mean, the perspective is that we need to stay ahead of competition. By doing so, we need to do things in a new way, and that's not always comfortable. So we challenge them to do things in a new way, and as we have 7 corporate partners, we can also, there's a lot of learning going on from each other. It's about challenging each other and learning that this is something good that the partner here is doing, and this is something good that the partner here is doing, and how can we do that together? And we can be those personal trainers, seeing the things that needs to be done, and pushing our partners and also startups doing that. So business and technology, you hear a lot about that. That's new technology being rolled out. New startups are everywhere today. It goes really, really quick. And even if you have a deep tech solution, there might be a competitor doing a similar thing tomorrow. But the big, big difference is the people, because they are who makes the difference. And I've seen this also with the startups and the corporates at MobilityXlab. It's people making the difference. It's about identifying and finding those champions. And we've had startups with brilliant technology, but you couldn't collaborate with them. It doesn't work. If you can't communicate, if you can't collaborate, if you can't get in touch with people, you're not going to go as far as others. And people are the ones who make things possible and take action. There's a lot of people on the screen here, but I think this is a very unique to MobilityXlab, the setup. The ring in the middle is the MobilityXlab team as of today. In the beginning, it was only me, but what I had was 3 different teams from our partners, the management team, and these are people that are representatives from all the partner companies, and they have been a part of MobilityXlab since day one. Not the same people, but kind of this team, and we have met every week for 2 hours, because they are and they do MobilityXlab together with us. So we're deeply integrated to our partner companies, and this makes a huge difference. We're not only here to connect startups and corporates and then leave them to do what they should do, right? Because we're trying to change a culture. We're trying to make them work in a new way, a faster way to reach new results. Also, we have a board, of course, working with the strategy and the long-term perspective with MobilityXlab. We also have a marketing and communication team. But the real superheroes didn't fit here, and I think there are over 200s. There are the partners working in the collaborations with the startups, because each time a startup gets invited to MobilityXlab, what they get is a dedicated contact person from the partner companies working together with them. And saying that, we connect them, we make sure that the right people meet. What we do also is being that personal trainer. We don't leave them. We make sure that they're there, and we run a framework to make sure that they accelerate and communicate with each other. And this is also a learning. I mean, MobilityXlab would be nothing without the people in it. We're just a personal training, standing on the sidelines, telling people what to do. But I also understood that or my experience is that what I met is that you're not going to find the people within the organizations. No one has time doing this. Who's going to come? Who's going to do it? But champions are everywhere. And I saw this early working with the Venture Cup, where we supported startups and connected them with the industry people, pro bono. And there were so many people who were eager to help out and coach and teach startups and entrepreneurs on how to do and what to do. And these champions are everywhere. We see them in startups, we see them within the large corporations, and once they come, more come. So I think we would be nothing without them. And there's so much learning going on by our community events that we have. We have the management team meeting every week, learning about how it's going with the collaboration, running the progress, but also when we have challenges, we can talk to each other and say, you do it this way, you do it this way. So what if we do it in our way together? And now we have almost 100 startups that has joined MobilityXlab over the years. It's different startups from around the world, Canada to India, and some from Sweden as well. It's software, hardware, it's health tech companies, it's more environmental friendly tires, as an example. So it's a wide range of startups that has joined MobilityXlab. And just a few of the results, what we've done so far is we've now had about 1,000 startup applications from over 50 countries. This is without paying for marketing, so we really see that there's a need in the market. And also because we see that if we want to stay competitive, we want to work with the world. So we're open to work with startups from around the world. We want to find the best fit for our partner needs. And 98, so about 10% of those, has been accepted to MobilityXlab. We had 8 joining us in January, so fairly recently. And over 50% of the ones that has joined MobilityXlab has done 95 collaborations. So that's proof of concepts year to date. But what we're aiming for within our framework and what we want them to achieve is corporate partnership or strategic partnerships together. And so far we reached 16 of those between startups and our corporates. And I know there's a lot of them on the verge of being pushed to that border, but not quite yet. And the startups that has joined MobilityXlab, they're doing really, really great, looking at the funding that they raise. So we get this number from Crunchbase. So these are some highlights of what we've been doing over the years and the progress. And now we've just received 135 new applications from 27 countries that we're now screening to join us in August. Yes, a question? So corporate partnership, it's a long-term contract between a corporate and a startup. It can be an investment from a corporate in the startup as well. So they look a bit different, but it's a long-term partnership contract between startup corporates or an investment from a corporate fund in the startup. And also, one of the roles that's MobilityXlab, I say it's about balancing the speed of the cheetah and the punch of the elephant. And this might sound, easy for startups and corporates to work together. There's so many organizations to do, connecting startups and corporates. That's amazing. But what we see and have seen over the 5 years is that this is extremely, extremely difficult, even though we know where the challenges are. One of the main challenges is manage expectations. I can tell you, we need to manage expectations. Let's sit down and do that. But if one is a large corporate and one is a startup, that is a really difficult conversation to have. And do you dare to say that? So at MobilityXlab, we act as the interface or the cushion, or sometimes the therapist perhaps, that we do talk to both the corporates and the startups, and we can get the true meaning of what they want, and we can stand on the sideline, see the trends, see where the challenges are, and also, as I mentioned, the personal trainer for once, but also being the music conductor and making sure that things move forward, what we need to address, and also what is really, really important is that we keep the beat of the music. Because if you only connect a startup and corporate and go off, you have 2 different speeds, there's no sense of urgency. How long is it going to take? How do you make sure you get progress? And here we at MobilityXlab have developed a framework, and we stand there to keep the beat of the music and make sure progress happens. And if progress does not happen, we make sure and say, yeah, we need to end this and say thank you, this is it for now. But it's not fair to kill the startup's runway, waiting for that answer from the corporate, they might not have the same sense of urgency as the startups. So that's what we stand on the sideline doing. So I think one of the major challenges between startup and corporate collaborations, it is manage expectations, setting a common goals. It's about communication. You can think that you communicate in the same terms, but you don't. So there's extremely valuable to have that interface in between, helping that out. And to be a pioneer of something, it's about daring to dream. And I want to finish off to say what I started saying. Either you think you can or you can't, but you're right. So I want to encourage you to dare to dream. Think big, because if you do, you can get somewhere. But also the ability to take action. You don't have to do the big thing in the beginning, but you need to start small. And we did that with MobilityXlab, laying the foundation. We started talking to startups. What is your need? How would you like the collaboration to look? What can we do that would work for you? And having the same conversation with the corporates. And we started small and we iterated. And creating a new culture. What we said to the corporates is that the worst thing that can happen is that we try things and we won't do them again. That made them feel safe, and also they were willing to experiment and do things in a new way. So dream big, start small, and I also think never ever finish. You need to keep ears to the tracks to listen in on how things are going. Where is the market turning? We know there's a volatile world out there. And how can you adapt? So never finish. Always evaluate what you're doing. Are you doing the right thing? Are you delivering the right value to the people around you? So dream big, start small, and never finish. Because the future belongs to companies that can adapt to change and re-evaluate their business and collaborate with each other in new ways. Because I say the future does not belong to, or the future, it's not about the large winning over the small, or the fast winning over the slow. It's about the smart people winning together. Thank you so much.